One of my projects this year. It's long overdue to get my old MG Midget back on the road. In this video I'm going to give a quick walkthrough of the key jobs that need doing, areas for attention, and where I think some of the biggest difficulties will lie. As you can see from some of the rust already, the bodywork restoration is probably going to be the most taxing element of this restoration. Biggest issue is, of course, the rust. Now I'll obviously be doing a fair bit of repair on this. I did have the sills done about 20 years ago, just after I first bought the car, so maybe the inner sills aren't too structurally bad. Obviously along here though, there's a bit of bubbling, which usually means rot behind. The A-pillar, I know from in there, is rotted a bit through, and the doors obviously either need replacing or reskinning. This front wing itself, so the offside front wing or fender, isn't too bad, apart from this front edge here where we've got a hole blown through with rust. I think though overall that will be salvageable. I do know lurking behind here in the inner wheel arch there is some corrosion holes though that will need attending to. Same sort of story on the other side really at the front, although this wing obviously has a much bigger problem. So you can buy a repair patch, so hopefully I'll get away with welding in one of these repair patches that covers that piece. And again, the A-pillar will need some attention here, and we'll see how the sills are once I start cutting stuff away. This door's also, sorry, bad focus. This door's also going to need a bit of attention though, not as much. Rear wings are starting to rot through at some of the standard places, so again are going to need a bit of work, but actually apart from those bottom edges are not too bad otherwise. Same for the door on this side. The offside rear wing is probably the worst of the two, again bubbling through on the arch and with a chunk missing off the bottom here. It's going to take a bit of work. Possibly the most serious structural issue I'm going to have to attend to, which I don't know how bad it's going to be yet until I start taking things apart, is though the floor pan and rear spring hanger here. So we've got a nice big gaping hole here. I also have a bit of rust around the rear here that's cutting through, so all this is going to need cutting out and replacing as well, which will be a bit of work. Boot lid's pretty good. I don't expect any major work there. Inside, pretty typical picture. It's going to need complete retrimming, so these carpets are falling apart. New door cards and other interior cards. Under this carpet here, it's pretty dry. It's actually pretty solid looking. I'm hoping the floor pan won't need total replacement, just a bit of patching. And the headlining in my hardtop is total renovation. Whether I keep the hardtop and just renovate that, or whether I go back to a folding soft top. I ran the car for a few years with both option, and we'll see. Inside the engine bay, despite the grease and grime, it's not so bad. Of note, I've removed the standard bonnet strut to give more clearance and use this or put in place this temporary strut, which gives me a bit more clearance. But that bonnet will have to, or but this bonnet will have to come off and have some repairs done at some point as well. Again, some rusty bits and the very classic problem to deal with of leading edge. So if you can see that, we're holing through on this leading edge, which is a really super common area for these midget bonnets to go. So a bit of work there. Again, like some of the wings or the doors, maybe a second-hand replacement will be a better option. The front valance is pretty grotty and rotten, but that's going to be certainly a replacement job. A bit too far gone for remedial repair there when the whole thing's pretty much rusted through. Mechanically, as I say, things aren't as bad as they look with a bit of grime. I actually put new fluids in, put a new battery on and gave the engine a turnover when I moved it onto my drive a couple of years ago. I had it towed over here from where it was previously stored, and actually she turns over fine, fires up Doesn't sound too bad. So mechanically, the mechanics are not my priority at the moment. Fresh fluids and a starting engine is good enough for me for the moment. I will though need to replace the brake master cylinder. That has a bit of a leak. I did try rebuilding it when I recommissioned the engine, and it still leaks a bit. So that's shot. I have got a new one sitting in the shed ready to go. The clutch will need bleeding and potentially new seals or new cylinders, depending on how that goes, which I know from previous experience is not the easiest job, but with a pressurised bleeding or easy bleed type kit is not too bad to do. As you can see, I debumpered the car a number of years ago. I'd like to tidy that up and do a slightly better job of it, so I'll also cover that piece. I've got really no intention of putting the old black rubber bumpers back on. Barring the flat tyres, obviously the wheels aren't in too bad nick. I might get them reconditioned at some point, but I do know good old suspension will need a rebuild and rebushing, which is, again, from past experience, a pig of a job, especially those front fulcrum pins, which are an absolute pig to remove when they've rusted in. When I debumpered the car originally, they also lowered the ride height with harder, shorter frontal springs and a lowering kit on the rear. Isn't just the flat tyres making it look lower than a standard 1500. In keeping with that, I'm actually going to try and sort of zhuzh it up a bit for the renovation or restoration as well. So once I have the bodywork done, I have it resprayed and repainted, I have everything running mechanically, everything rebuilt and safe, I'll then start doing a bit of tuning work on the engine with an eye to maybe getting into some light hill climb or sprint work. The plan of the bodywork is very much restore what I can rather than replace, although some of these elements that are particularly bad, like wings or that offside door, I may well get a second-hand replacement. Of note, one of the things that makes this a summer project is I don't have a garage, so I'm going to tackle the task pretty much corner by corner, working through and solving each issue as it comes up. In an ideal world, I'd be in a garage. I'd have everything fully stripped down, all the parts separated from the shell, so I could do all the shell work that way. But as I say, that's not possible in my circumstances, so it is going to be a piecemeal rolling restoration. Crappy old carpets all going to come out. I think that will actually help keep less moisture in the vehicle, which will hopefully slow the further rot. I won't bin them for the time being. I may decide to do the new carpets myself, in which case I will use this as a template, so I'll pop them in a bin bag, tuck them somewhere dry like the loft to use as templates for new carpets. So there we go. A lot of work to do, should be quite fun doing it. Good chance to try my newly acquired MIG welding skills. Do follow, like or subscribe if you want to find out how I get along, and hopefully see how I return this not quite basket case but pretty rough old midget back to a road going fun weekend runner.